I'm starting a new reading project. I am going to read books that few people are currently reading. Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg. A few weeks ago, I made a video called 6 Books Few People Read Anymore. It was viewed a lot more than most of my videos, and I held up 6 books that people just aren't reading anymore. And many of the comments were, why aren't you talking about this book? They were upset that I do not give actual reviews of these infrequently read books nowadays. So I decided that I'm going to start a new project. Every month, I'm going to try to read a book that doesn't have a lot of readers nowadays. Now, what makes these books obscure, or what counts as few readers? That's a little bit up in the air still. If I were to go by Goodreads, I'm going to say if the book has 500 or less ratings, that means it is not read much nowadays. I think 500 may be a little high. I may want to eventually lower that to like 400 or maybe 300. That's all up in the air. And for the most part, I think also books have to be published for a while. If a book is newly published and it only has a couple hundred reviews, that doesn't mean it's not being read a whole lot nowadays. The idea is to go to older books that are not being read. So I'm going to start this off with some of the books that I reviewed or talked about in my original video. I may not read all those 6 books, but it's a starting place. So I read Mortal Gods by Jonathan Fast, published in 1978. Jonathan Fast is the son of Howard Fast. Howard Fast was once a very popular and famous author in the United States, whose popularity and fame is on the downward decline. I still think Howard Fast is read a bit nowadays. But his son has faded almost completely into obscurity. And this book is completely out of print. I picked up a copy for 35 cents at a used bookstore, mostly just for the cover. It really is an exciting cover. But as a book, how does this work? Well, this is a science fiction novel, and one of the things that Jonathan Fast did right, in my opinion, is he tried to get the science correct. He does stretch the science a bit, or maybe a little bit more than a bit. But many science fiction authors have this belief that a future science that humans don't understand can look just like magic. So in the author's mind, they don't have to do the science behind the technology. Jonathan Fast at least tried to get the science correct. I don't think he actually did, but he did try. And this is a fairly typical science fiction setup where there is humanity spread out among the stars and there are alien races to intermingle with. They are limited to the speed of light, so when they travel among the stars, you do have that time effect where the people on the spaceship may only experience travel for a few months, but everyone else, 30, 40 years have gone by. But they are on this world. This is Nick. He is the main character, a bit of a ne'er-do-well who got his job with this company called Mutagen. Mutagen makes superhumans. They are imitation gods known as lifestylers. And lifestylers do not exist in the normal realm of existence. They exist in a different plane, a different dimension. But these lifestylers have temples where people can come to worship them, and lifestylers can grant requests to people in their temple. Now, the imitation gods cannot grant everything because they are not all-powerful beings. They are limited to what they can give. So that is a good distinction between these gods. But people still worship them as gods, and this is Haldi. This is an alien female who's come to visit a human world for some medical reasons to save her species. The details are not all that important. But she denigrates these imitation gods. She says, why do you have them? and she is overheard. But she goes to this temple with Nick, and one of these imitation gods is murdered, and it is determined that the murder was caused by psionic powers, and her species is known to have psionic powers. And then Nick and Haldy visit another temple with another imitation god, and that imitation god is also murdered. So Haldy becomes the prime suspect. And by this time, Nick has fallen in love with his alien girl with a bird-like beak. And that makes some very strange sex scenes in this novel. So Nick has to go save his alien girl. Now, Nick happens to be a ne'er-do-well. He only got his job in this company, Mutagen, through his father. His father is a very powerful senator and a political player. So that's how Nick got his job. But Nick has to solve these murders. So there are a lot of issues in this book. One of the things is that Jonathan Fast tries to do too much in this book. It's like everything in the kitchen sink cliche. A lot of it could have been streamlined, a lot of plot points narrowed down, a lot of characters just expelled from the story. That kind of thing. But I did enjoy it. Does it deserve to be out of print? Yeah, probably. Could the author publish it on a Kindle book and be successful? I don't know. If this book were available on Kindle, it'd be like 99 cents, maybe $1.99, $4.99 at the tops, but it might be successful as a Kindle book. I guess this all boils down to the fact that I'm satisfied with this book. It is just a short, entertaining science fiction novel, nowhere near the top of its genre, but not a bad one. If you see this copy at a used bookstore, and it is reasonably priced, I think you should pick it up. Give it a try. If you don't like the story, just enjoy the cover. So I will be continuing this project every month, more or less. I have picked out a few books that I'm going to be reading in the coming months. In June, I'm going to be reading The Age of Longing by Arthur Koestler. Arthur Koestler was a former Soviet Union aficionado who broke with the Soviet Union. People have accused him of being a Marxist and an atheist. I don't necessarily think those two things are bad, but this is a story of liberal-minded people living in Paris after World War II. I'm sort of excited to pick it up. July, I do not have a book picked out yet, but in August, I am going to be reading Jailbait by William Bernard. This is supposedly nonfiction. I have my doubts about juvenile delinquents and sexual activities. A lot of people have made comment that this must be a terrible book, but I will find out. I do give myself permission to DNF this rather quickly if it really is truly as bad as I think it will be. Well, those are my current plans for this obscure book project. I don't know what I should call this. I filmed this video, and I don't really have a name for my obscure book reading project. I'll have to think about that. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.